Hi guys, and welcome to another World of Tanks review with me, Antonov2, and today we'll be talking about the M5A1 Stuart Tier 4 Chinese light tank. But before we get stuck into that, I've got a bit of great news for you, and that is, at last I've got the Indian Panzer. I've been waiting to get this tank for almost a month now, and I love it. It's been worth every single second I've had to suffer in the VK 3002D. It's just amazing. I've had some really great games in this. I've had a whole pile of really bad games in it as well, but that's just the kind of stuff that happens to you if you're playing an online game. So, yeah, I really like this tank, and I'll definitely be coming up with a review and some gameplays, and probably some let's plays as well of this tank. So, watch out for those if you're interested. But of course, this isn't about the Indian Panzer, is it? It's about the M5A1 Stuart. And considering this tank was made in China, it's pretty damn good build quality. Although, just wait a moment, it wasn't made in China, was it? It was imported from the USA. What was I thinking of? China and good build quality? Of course, I'm only kidding. Some tanks in the Chinese tech tree are really good. Like, I'm really looking forward to the 121. That's the reason why I'm playing this tank, to get the 121. The WZ 120 is awesome. I like these two tanks here, the T-34-1 and the T-34-2. The two tanks I'm absolutely not looking forward to playing are the Type T-34 and the Type 58, because a lot of people say, I've never played them yet, but a lot of people say that they really suck, and they look really derpy. Just look at this, or at this. I'm definitely not going to have fun with these tanks, I think, but I think it's worthwhile because everything from Tier 7 in the Chinese tech tree, I think, is really good. So, yeah, I'm grinding my way up the Chinese tech tree, although my primary target at the moment is to get the Leopard 1. So, yeah, as I already said, the M5A1 Stuart is a pretty nice tank, and I like it a lot. I don't really spend all that much time talking about it as about other tanks, because it's only Tier 4. So, let's just have a quick look at the M5A1 Stuart's stats. 340 hit points is quite a good amount of hit points, considering this tank is Tier 4 and a light tank. And the weight is pretty decent too, so you can do ramming damage to other light tanks and artillery, but you'll suffer quite a lot of damage yourself. So think twice about ramming enemies. Your engine power is really a lot, considering you weigh this little, and according to that, your speed limit is very high, and you accelerate very quickly as well. Let's just see if we can get the specific power. Yeah, 25 horsepower per ton. That's very good power to weight ratio. And the traverse speed is a bit mediocre on this tank, because you see, it isn't bad, but you're that fast. The traverse speed just isn't good enough. So if you haven't got quite used to this tank yet, you'll often find yourself crashing into corners and so on, because you just have to plan your turns in advance, and pretty far in advance, because otherwise you just crash into something. Your armor, well, this is a light tank and it hasn't really got any armor. If you angle your hull, some shots are going to ricochet from it, but that's very unlikely, because just look at that. 28mm, that's nothing. And your turret is slightly better, but and your gun mantle will protect you from quite a few shots. So if you're shooting at an M5A1 Stuart, try to aim for the hull. But your turret isn't much of a protection really either. But all the same, it's better than the hull, because the hull armor really sucks. One thing concerning the turret is you've got this whatever this is, I don't know, some kind of machine gun emplacement or something like that on the turret. This hasn't got a hitbox, so it might look like a very good hit zone, like a weak spot, but if you looked at it from behind, there's nothing behind it, so it hasn't got a hitbox. Mind that. Of course, for weak spots, you can shoot at this little machine gun emplacement here, but you don't really need to look for weak spots in a 30mm sheet of armor. And anyway, if your enemies get the chance to aim for weak spots in this tank, you're doing it wrong, because you should be moving all the time. The shell damage is pretty good. 53 to 88. You can kill most tanks that you come across in tier 4 games with 4 shots, and this gun has got a pretty good reload time. So a rate of fire of 24, that's awesome. So you'll be able to kill most enemies at your tier or lower before they kill you. Except, of course, if you come over a Hetzer or a SU-85B or something like that. So your shell penetration is pretty good as well. It's nothing outstanding, but it's decent. And your turret reverse speed is pretty damn good. Your turret turns pretty fast, 48 degrees per second. Now we come to the two important things for a scout, which are view range and signal range, and they both are very good for a tier 4 tank. 350 meters view range, that's very nice, and a 615 meter signal range is very good as well. So this tank clearly is a scouting tank, and that's how scouting in the M5A1 Stuart works out. So we're on El Halouf, and I've headed for this south part of the map, and what I'm basically trying to do is I'm trying to get round the back of my enemies on that ridge there, and scout them for the snipers from my team on our ridge. I never had any absolutely awesome games with this tank. I actually never really had any really good games in this tank either. I had some okay games, and this is one of them, because you see, I'm not a very good scout driver, and what I definitely had in this tank though was piles of fun. The M5A1 Stuart is a really fun tank to drive, as are nearly all scout tanks in the game, I think, because although I can really suck at driving scouts, I enjoy it a lot. And right here you can see a bit of a bug, the hovering Hellcat. Whoa. I'm really sorry for this. You see, I'm hovering as well, and I think the reason for that is because this replay is from an older patch of World of Tanks. I think it's 8.4, now we're on 8.5, so I think it isn't all that compatible. The replay file isn't all that compatible with the game engine at the moment. So I think that's what's causing these problems, and I'm really sorry for that. But it's just funny, really. So there's a Hetzer there, and to my left you can see this Electo, and he's gonna be my bane at the end of this game. He's gonna kill me. It's a nasty little tank, that Electo, and I really want to drive one of them, but at the moment I've got so many other tanks or tech tree lines to get down and grind up more. Grind up is the better way to say it. That I haven't really got any time or energy to do the British TDs, but I'll definitely do them in time. And I try to snipe those guys up there, but obviously this gun's kind of better at brawling, you know. And but just right here you can see my awesome reload time coming in handy. Just look at that reload. That's nearly like a flak, you know. And yeah, there's a Panzer III, and I get him. And now there's the M5A1 Stuart against the VK 3001P, the Beauty and the Beast. And the Beauty wins. So I've got 3 kills, and now I'll enter the cap zone. And as you can see, all my teammates are swarming into, and there's the Electo on my tail. He gets a shot into me and leaves me with 5% of my health. So I take cover behind this hill, or rock rather, and he comes round and gets me. So yeah, that was bad luck, or it wasn't really bad luck, it just was bad. It's got nothing to do with luck. He was just better than me, I guess, or it wasn't really that great what he did. It just worked. So that was a bit of a shame. And this was one of the better games I had in my M5A1 Stuart. Getting 3 kills with a scout, and none of them being arty, is pretty good. And as I said, this gun isn't bad. It's actually pretty nice, and I really like the gun. I actually like the whole tank. So to tell you how you can perform better in this tank than I do, let's go back to the garage. So after seeing that game, I'm not sure if you still want to take advice from me concerning this tank, but if you want to hear it or not, you're gonna get it. So yeah, I don't really think I'm pretty sure I know how to drive this tank. I just can't do it, but I think I know what it's about. So as I said, this is a scouting tank, and I think the best scouting tactic used on this tank is roaming. And for those of you who didn't understand anything of my last sentence, there are 3 main scouting tactics. There's the rush, roaming, and spotting. What you do in rush is, after the countdown's stopped, you aim your hull at the enemy base and keep W pressed till you die. That's more or less it. Of course, you can refine that tactic a bit more and dodge enemy fire on the way, but that's more or less it. In roaming, you don't just drive around the map on unpredictable routes and try to spot as many enemies while you're doing that as you can, and at the same time you try to use cover, like you try to use the terrain to your benefit. That's roaming. And the last thing is spotting. And what you basically do is, in spotting, is you try to predict where the enemy team will probably be heading for. Then you get there before they get there. You sit behind a bush and just do nothing. You don't do anything. You don't fire your gun. You don't move your tank. You just spot the enemies. And if you're spotted, you get the hell out of there. And I never recommend rush for any means, because you just get yourself killed. And even if you spot the whole enemy team, you're just wasting your team's scout, which is you, and you yourself are crossing out piles of XP that you could get. Roaming is the scouting tactic I prefer, and I would use it on this tank too, because look at the speed. It's great. So the maneuverability is pretty good too. So roaming is good if you learn how to control this tank, because you have to be able to estimate the space you'll need to make a turn, because it's pretty big, because your traverse speed isn't very good. So spotting or roaming is the way to go in this tank. And that's pretty much it. One last thing is that if you're standing still in this tank, you're doing it wrong, because you just get killed because you haven't got any armor. Angling this tank's armor won't help you at all, because you'll just get penetrated all the same. Just forget it. No point in standing still. Try to shoot on the move. If you miss on the move, just stand still for a second. Your aiming time is very good. Take a shot, keep on moving. If there are a lot of enemy tanks around, just don't stop, just don't shoot anybody, just drive through. And another thing that this tank is pretty good at is killing enemy artillery. So if you can break through the enemy lines and get behind them, make sure to take out the artillery if there is any. So yeah, tactics are pretty easy, but still I can't manage to apply them. I hope you manage better. In the meanwhile, let's have a look at the crew skills. If you want to keep this tank for a long time, then you will be able to unlock 100% crew. I've had this tank for quite a while now. Well, not all that long really, but just as long as it took me to unlock the Type T34, and I've got them on 73%. So there's no way you're gonna get 100% crew on this tank if you're just trying to get through it as quick as possible to get to higher tier tanks. But if you're one of these people that want to that collect tanks like this, and you want to keep this tank for whatever reason, I can't imagine, you definitely want repairs on all of your crew first of all. And for your commander, if you want to use a spotting tactic, Sixth Sense is the most important thing you can get. Otherwise, because you are a scout, you definitely want recon, and you don't really need any of these skills here. So again, repairs and recon, you definitely need those two, no matter what tactic you want to use. Sixth Sense only if you're a spotter. If you are a spotter. For the gunner, repairs again is essential, and then get snapshot. Definitely get snapshot, and yeah, that's just more or less it. Then for the driver, again, you want to have repairs and you want to have smooth ride. Also, off-road driving is useful. Controlled impact is useful if you find that you do a lot of ramming, especially against artillery. And another really useful thing to have is clutch braking, because as I already said, your traverse speed isn't good enough to keep up with the speed. So again, all of the driver skills except for preventative maintenance are important. And then last, we've got the radio operator, and of course the radio operator is pretty important for a scout tank. Again, you want to have repairs, and then you definitely want situational awareness and signal boosting. Those are two skills that are absolutely decisive on scout tanks. One last thing is that if you want to do spotting, you don't need repairs really. Instead of repairs, I'd perhaps get camouflage, because yeah, spotting relies on two things. First of all, on three things really. First of all, on your view range. Secondly, on your signal range. And thirdly, on your camo value. Your speed is important too, but not as important as the rest. So, as for equipment, I mean, I don't know what insane guy is going to mount equipment on a tier 4 tank, because just look at the prices. The prices for equipment are twice as high as the tank itself. So if you're an insane guy and you want to mount equipment, definitely get toolbox, except if you want to do if you want to play as a spotter. But if you don't want to play as a spotter, first of all, you definitely want to get toolbox. You want to get coated optics, and you should get the enhanced suspension, or in this case it's enhanced springs. It just does the same thing. So these three for any tactics except for spotting, because if you want to do spotting, you'll want the binocular telescope, definitely. You'll want the camouflage net, and the third skill, difficult to say. I have a choice of yours if you're a spotter. If you want to spot, the only two pieces of equipment that are important are binocular telescope and camo net. So that's got us through the M5A1 Stuart, and as I said, although I'm probably one of the persons who's worst at driving this tank, I really enjoyed it a lot, and now that I've reviewed it, at last I can research the Type T34. Yeah, and now I can't buy it yet, but I will be able to buy it after I've sold my M5A1 Stuart. So please keep your fingers crossed for me, because I think this is going to be a really, really bad time grinding my way through this tank and this tank. I'll be coming up with some gameplays and reviews of these tanks, although I won't enjoy them probably. And yeah, thanks for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.